Hello and welcome to the first Freeze Frame podcast. My name's Jared,
And I'm Paul.
and we're gonna be talking about a few topics today. And so just sit back, relax, and
Enjoy the podcast.
enjoy the podcast. So the first one
Right.
is just a little over a week ago. The Last Jedi came out on Blu-ray, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because there's still the fan debacle whether or not it should be retconned or not.
Retconned. What does that exactly mean? Because I'm not familiar with that term.
It means that in episode 9, they just go, hey, this is episode 8. This is not whatever happened. We changed it. Does that make sense? So
It's still canon, but it's not what was supposed to be. They changed it.
No, people are like, hey, just don't make it canon anymore. Remake episode 8, make it good.
Okay, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally, right? So I just want to know
In
what...
the next version, Luke will actually say, no, I'm going to kill Kylo Ren. Or will he say, I cannot kill Kylo Ren because I'm a Jedi and that would be against the Jedi way?
Yeah, and I can't kill animals either. That's not cool, man.
Who's not killing animals?
That Luke's not killing animals. That's
Okay,
a
so
thing too.
He'll drink their milk, so he's a vegetarian now. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
Luke Skywalker, vegetarian. You heard it here first.
You heard it here. So I just want to know what you liked about Last Jedi, and should it be non-canon?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, should it be canon? Should it be not canon? It came out from Disney, who took over from Lucasfilm. So even though they own Lucasfilm, do they have the right to say what's going on? Well, George Lucas wasn't involved. That's actually a good thing, because if you look at the first 3 episodes, I would say, George, get out of the business while you can.
But he did 4.
He did 4, 5, and 6, yes, but he also did those 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, he knew what he was doing, and now he's just a billionaire sitting in his big house making up whatever story he wants. So I would say keep George out of it. So we get rid of that. Is it canon? Well, without George, it's hard to say. But the
I'd say it
characters are
is.
all there, so I'm going to say yes.
I'd say keep it
I'm
canon.
I'm going to say keep it canon, because I do like the arc of Luke Skywalker's character. I know that's a big controversy with people, but I like the arc because if you've ever failed at anything in your life, you're going to get frustrated by it. And so he's frustrated and says, I don't want to train any more people. I did my job. It blew up in my face, and all the good people got killed by Kylo Ren.
See, that's where I'm at too. Is people are saying that Luke wouldn't do that. He wouldn't just exile himself. He's like, oh, he's the get up and go kind of guy. Like he'd just restart the Jedi Academy. Like, oh yeah, well that didn't work really well, and I guess I'll just do it again.
And he might have, but maybe he didn't want to. I mean, the whole thing got burned to the ground. Maybe if it hadn't been burned to the ground, maybe if he hadn't woken up in a pile of rubble, I don't know. But he said, I think I'll go out on top and be a legend. You know, it's
I'll go out on top.
I will retire at this point, and then everybody can think whatever. And if I go exile myself, ooh, they're going to come look for me, and I'm a famous person. Instead of being, oh yeah, I did it long enough to really get everybody's attention to see, hey, look, Luke failed. He sucks. We don't support him anymore. He got out before that happened.
Yeah.
So I like his arc of the character there. I think it's ironic that Yoda doesn't show up prior to that to kick his butt. I mean, he shows up at the end and he has this great line, another favorite Yoda line, failure, the greatest teacher is.
The greatest teacher failure is.
Yeah, however Yoda says that.
Just gonna correct you.
Failure, the greatest teacher it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so why doesn't Yoda show up before that? Well, before Rey even shows up and says, hey, Luke, Rey's coming. And guess what? The Force kind of wants you to teach her because it's already showing up in her life and changing who she is.
Because he disconnected himself from the Force.
Yeah, but Yoda was still there. Yoda could still appear, especially at the Jedi Temple.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he did,
timing.
and maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's where he cut himself off, and he said, I want nothing to do with the Force. And he separated himself because that's one of Rey's comments is he's no longer in tune to things.
Mm-hmm. And then another part of that as well is Luke might not have listened earlier.
Perhaps. Yeah, that's a possibility. So, do I think it's canon? Yes, I do. Oops. And do I think it should be continued as canon? Yes.
Yeah.
And I actually like the story. I like where Luke went with it. There are some other parts of it that I thought, what was the point of that?
Casino Planet?
Yeah, the casino plan. The whole plan with Finn and Rose was pointless. I mean, they failed in their mission. So whether they went out and tried to save the universe or not, they failed, and it didn't change the outcome at all. Mm-hmm. So basically, you watched half the movie of them running around in the casino planet going, well, this is kind of cool and kind of weird at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it served no purpose.
Yeah, see, a lot of people are like, had the prequel vibe, is what people are saying with the casino planet.
The only thing it did was set up that little kid at the end who was able to force the broom into his hand. So you're like, ooh, a new generation of Jedi. That's all it did, is we got this little kid, and he could have got that from anywhere.
Yeah, no, but the point of, like, the prequel thing is, like, everything seems CGI there, and, like, nothing was real. And, like, even all the weird aliens and stuff, they're all CGI.
Well, of course, yeah.
And then, like, the animals are and stuff as well. So people, like, this is a very prequel-y vibe from this.
And that's Lucas's contribution to the whole thing.
That was a story
like,
beat.
George, what do you think? I think we should CGI everything. Okay, and you're back out. You don't
And
have
we're
anything
back.
to do with the story, but you can CGI stuff. Hey, at least Jar Jar didn't show up, and that's a good thing.
And then final point I want to talk about with Last Jedi is Captain Phasma. Do you think she'll come back?
No, she died. I mean, it would be nice if she came back because her character wasn't fully developed. And having got the DVD/Blu-ray version of it and watched it digitally, there is an outtake as a deleted scene. If you get a chance to watch the deleted scene, watch it because it makes so much more sense where Phasma confronts Finn.
Yeah.
And there's this cool battle between the two of them that lasts longer than the shot in the film. And she does end up ultimately
Dying again.
But it makes so much more sense than falling through a hole in the floor, whatever. Yeah. So without spoiling that, and I know I just did.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Go watch the deleted scene because I think the deleted scene would have made so much more sense in the film than the way they ended it, where it's just like, oh no, the floor collapsed.
It's a much better character confrontation as well.
It really is because okay, here's the spoiler. So there's your warning, spoiler.
For this deleted scene.
Yeah, Finn points out to a group of stormtroopers that are surrounding him that Phasma is the one who actually turned off the shield on the killer planet.
Yeah.
Star Killer Base.
Yeah.
And so they all went, hey, wait a minute. Maybe she's not the leader we thought she was because she could have just said no and sacrificed herself.
Mm-hmm. And then she just kills them all. And it's a really cool scene.
It is. And she shoots all these stormtroopers, and it's awesome because they're all starting to turn on her. And then she goes after Finn and ultimately gets killed.
Yeah, it just fleshes out her character more.
It does.
And
it makes more sense. Did she die? I believe so. Will she come back? I don't know. Can she do a Force Ghost thing? Maybe her suit of armor protected her. I mean,
from the depths of space.
Maybe. Even though her eye hole got punched out, she was able to withstand laser blasts in that suit. And they didn't even do anything. They kind of absorbed in. They didn't even bounce off. So maybe, but at one point it shows her with her eye exposed.
Yeah.
So if she went into space, she would still freeze like everybody else.
Yeah.
Which brings up the point of Leia, who was frozen in space, and even though she does have the Force and was able to get back to the ship and land on the bridge, she'd have still been dead because she was out in space for so long. So that one, the whole...
But the Force...
I know, but the Force doesn't keep you from freezing to death. I mean, her eye sockets would have frozen over and she'd have been dead. And even if she'd come back, she'd have been blinded because her eye sockets would have been... Everybody else on that ship did. And it wasn't just, hey, we got blown into space and knocked unconscious. She'd have died before she'd been able to wake up and bring herself back. That's one that bothers me. So, and then, okay, and in real life... You're going to the next point, and I'm not ready to.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, in real life, the actress has died. So even though the character of Princess Leia has not died, Carrie Fisher, the actress who plays her, did die in real life. So what are they going to do in number 9?
The biggest theory for that is that there's going to be a time jump for it, like a couple years.
Okay, so
to also build up the resistance again, since it's now down to like 20 people on the Falcon, and that's all they have.
Makes sense. Okay.
So next point that I want to talk about is upcoming movies in April. There's 2 really big ones, and then a third one if you want to.
Two really big ones and one that might be something.
And one that might be something.
Okay, and what are those?
So the first one is Rampage with Dwayne Johnson. How you feeling about that one?
That one, I've got mixed feelings about that one, honestly, because I watched Jumanji, the remake, and I really liked the Dwayne Johnson in that as a reboot. That whole Jumanji feel and vibe was really good for me. That sounds weird. No, I enjoyed Jumanji. Rampage looks more like, okay, Michael Bay got a hold of it and it's going to be Transformers 5. It doesn't have that feeling of this is going to be a really good movie. It's going to have a lot of special effects. It's going to be blowing up a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not going to have that, ooh, will they make a sequel? Is it going to be that good? Do I believe Dwayne Johnson is an action hero?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do believe him as an action hero, but this seems just so far-fetched. And the fact that I've played the video game in the arcade when I was a kid, I can't believe they made a movie based on this video game. I think the game's awesome. I played the game, and it's a lot of fun. But I don't see it working well as a film. For me, it's going to be, all right, let's get a Redbox rental or wait for Netflix. I'm not going to go pay the astronomical movie price to sit in a darkened theater and watch this thing next weekend when it comes out.
Yeah, I feel the same way about it. There was a indie director, Uwe Boll, who is suing Warner Brothers for using the name Rampage because he doesn't realize it's based off a video game. He thinks they just stole the name Rampage from his trilogy of Rampage movies. So he wants to sue Warner Brothers for it because it's like, you're confusing the audience because I could make more money off my Rampage and you're just stealing that away from me. Okay. Completely different plots and stories. And Warner Brothers is based off a video game, and he's an indie director who made these weird ones about a dude that just shoots a bunch of people and goes on a rampage.
Okay, well, I've never heard of his thing, so that's
three of them.
That's going against him from day one. Number two, he's going up against Warner Brothers, who have much better lawyers than he does. And number three, Dwayne Johnson is going to be a draw, so he can't say my movies will make more money and you're taking my name away. Because the fact that Dwayne Johnson shows up in this, you're going to get a lot of people going out to see it just because of him.
Well, it's also the point that one of them's based off a video game.
Well, yeah, it is.
They're separate entities.
Yeah, I could come back and say, hey, well, I wrote a book called Die Hard, and then they made these movies. Oh, wait, no, I was 15 when that came out. So if I wrote a book tomorrow and I called it Die Hard, could I go back to the studio and sue them, even though their whole franchise thing kind of came to an end? Actually, no, they're still going, aren't they? They've done 6 of those.
Yeah, well, no, 5, I think.
5. But, hypothetically, I can't come back and go, well, my character's name is John McClane, so I'm going to claim that.
I'm going to John McClane it.
I'm sure they would sue me and say, go find a different character name because you know this guy's been around forever.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of mentality that this Ichabod, whatever his name is, that he's coming up with and saying, I've got characters that are in this film called Rampage, and it just happens to be the same name. You go back through history, there's lots of different books, films, other things that have similar names or the same name and are completely different stories. Yeah. So I don't think he has a case at all.
A better example of this would be with Shape of Water, how they were going to get sued because there's a play that's pretty much the exact same story and has the same themes as Shape of Water.
Well, isn't that just based on The Little Mermaid?
No, it's not.
I mean, The Little Mermaid, she's in the water, she sees the prince falls in love with her, but he doesn't realize she's a mermaid. So it's the same story, just retold.
Well, kind of, but not.
So, I mean, if anybody goes to sue anybody, I think Hans Christian Andersen has the ultimate, even though he's passed on. He can go back
He'll
to
come from the grave
his original
with
story.
lawyers and sue.
Okay, Hans Christian Andersen's estate can say, look.
No, I want him.
The Shape of Water
is
based on The Little Mermaid, who's making out with Prince Eric. And I mean, at one point they go into the ocean, and it's like, you can stay and be a merman, or you can go back on land. And he chooses to go back, and she goes with him. But you've got this fishtail where he falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him. That's what I'm seeing. And so, if anybody has dead to rights, I came up with the idea first. It's Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'm just going to move on. I'm just...
Fine. Okay.
The second and the biggest release that some are saying of the year, Infinity War, end of April.
Now that's the big movie.
That's the big movie.
Which it better be. I mean, you look at the cast of that. It's got a cast of 30 main characters.
Yeah, 30 named
30 main
established characters.
And you look at these actors and you say, well, they're commanding these huge salaries. So if the budget for the film is, what, 300 million, you could take half of that and pay these guys and then say, okay, well, we still put in 150 million to make the movie. Mm-hmm. They're going to get that back because it's part of the franchise. This being the third Avengers movie, obviously for the whole Marvel universe, I think we're up to number 20.
I think this is 18 or 19.
We're getting close.
It's up there.
Yeah, because Ant-Man 2 is already in production and will be out this year.
Yeah, it will be out in July.
So with this one, it's going to be a huge blockbuster. And I know I, for one, am waiting for this. I've been wanting to know what's going to go on with it. I know some fans out there are not thrilled about Thanos because they think he could be looking better than he does as far as an evil character.
One of the funniest ones I saw was people called him a purple Homer Simpson. Because he just has this weird,
he's
like...
balding.
Yeah, he's got this bald... I'm sorry, that was just...
No, I haven't heard that one. That's funny to me. And he's collecting rings for his charm bracelet. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
He's got this gauntlet. Like, come on, tell it what it really is.
It's a gauntlet.
He wants 5
not a ring bracelet.
Colored jewels for his bracelet.
It's not a bracelet.
Which he believes will give him additional powers. But
it will. It's confirmed it will.
But he has so much power already. Does he really need to get these extra jewels?
Yes.
Why?
Because he wants to blow up half the universe.
What's the point of ruling the universe if you're going to destroy half of it?
Because half of it's bad to him.
And that's the part we live in, which is really the
I
good
guess.
side of
I don't know.
Okay. Not enough floating rocks in space.
No, not enough details have been released because Marvel is keeping this under wraps.
Which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I know I'm mocking it, but I'm also very, very excited for it. I believe that some of the characters may die.
Do you have any crazy theories that you want to just get out there?
Crazy theories. Let's see. I don't really know that I've come up with a theory. I mean, I've seen a clip on the actual preview.
The trailer?
The trailer, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Where Thanos is punching Captain America's shield. And I'm thinking, yeah, that can absorb the blow. But if this is a one-on-one contest and nobody comes to save Cap, I think Cap's going to end up getting killed in this one. And that's sad. I don't want to see that happen. But just from that one little outtake, I can say he doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
He's going to get squished. And that's going to be unfortunate. And
that's going to be unfortunate.
Well, it will. It's going to be unfortunate for all his fans. But hey, it'll free him up to go to more cons, right?
Yeah, that's the point of it. See, that's the...
Because Chris Evans doesn't do enough cons.
It's all conspiracy, man.
But hey, Robert Downey Jr. hasn't done any that I know of. Maybe he has, but I haven't seen him at any.
You want me to look that up?
Sure, you can look that up.
Yeah.
We're here in Utah. I'd love him to come to the Salt Lake Comic-Con, which is now the Comic Convention.
The Comic Convention.
Yes, but it was abbreviated, and then they got sued by San Diego Comic-Con, so they can't use the name anymore. So we're not allowed to say that. So it's the Comic Convention, not Comic-Con, even though that's an abbreviation.
That's weird.
And my point was that Robert Downey Jr. may have attended that. I don't know if he has or not. But I'd like to see him come to the Utah one. Mm-hmm. That would be awesome. That would be really cool. Chris Evans has been here, and so has the Winter Soldier, Bucky. No, that's not his real name.
Yes, it is.
Bucky Buchanan is his real name.
Yeah, Barnes. Barnes.
Bucky Barnes, but I mean the actor's name, Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you, I'm looking up stuff. I'm like half paying attention.
No, that's fine. So Sebastian Stan has been here, and the audiences went crazy. Stan Lee, of course, has been here with his health, and we wish him the best of health in whatever his health condition is now. He won't be attending any more Comic-Cons anywhere. because his doctors have said no.
Yeah.
So we wish him all the best and hope that he does stay around quite a bit longer because his cameos are still a lot of fun. And I hope he does make a cameo in Infinity War. I think that would be fun to see him. I don't know what as. Mm-hmm. Not really somebody from Wakanda, but, somewhere in there. He's got to show up. Maybe he's a janitor on Thanos' ship. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Robert Downey has been to the San Diego Comic-Con a few times.
Well, there we go. So we just need to get him up here and to say, hey, Robert, we're having better attendance than they are. We're actually,
oh, really?
We are, yeah.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, Salt Lake City's Comic Convention. It's actually more popular and gets more visitors from out of state, out of the country, than San Diego does. Now, granted, that's California, and there's a large population in California.
Yeah.
So as far as attendees go, I don't know. But I know we're getting more people coming in internationally to our Comic-Con than attend that one. So there is that.
There's that.
Okay.
And then
what's the next one?
And then the third movie, it comes out today. It's called A Quiet Place. It's directed by Jim from The Office, but the actual person, not the character. John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. I was going to say Jim Krasinski, yeah.
And it stars him and his wife, Emily Blunt. And they live in the society with these monsters that only react to sound. So they have to remain absolutely quiet. Otherwise, these monsters will come and attack them.
So whose story is this? Who wrote this? Who's directing it? Do you know any of that information?
I think John Krasinski wrote and is directing and starring in it. I think.
Okay. I like John Krasinski from The Office, of course, but I did see 13 Hours, and he was brilliant in that. I thought his character did really well. He played it very well. So as far as the big screen goes, I think he's come a long way, and I think he can do very well. Obviously, I'm not knowing much about this story, so I can't really comment on what I think it's going to be. But if Krasinski's in it and behind it, I admire him as an actor, and I think Emily Blunt is a great actress. I love her. Everything I've seen her in, she does very well in.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to bring it up because the early reviews for it have been really good, and a lot of people have said it's probably one of the best horror movies that we've had in a while.
Wow.
Yeah, just because it builds off of the suspense. Because if they do make a sound,
then
everything's over.
Yeah, all hell breaks loose. Can I say that? Yes, I did. And there it is. So the world will come to an end. It's apocalypse in our time.
Yeah, he helped write the screenplay and direct it.
Cool. Then that should be really good. What's it rated?
It's rated PG-13.
Excellent. That's good to see a horror genre that's not rated R.
Yeah. Because it's not about
honestly,
just,
there are very few of those.
It's not just about like brutally killing everyone.
Yeah, so that's good because I would rather see the buildup of the suspense and having that icky feeling in your stomach that you get when you watch these kind of films. I'd rather have that buildup than just see gore everywhere and have decapitated people and blood splots every place. Yeah. That's much more terrifying. Is the actual suspense of what might happen. Then here comes Saw 5, 6, 7.
Saw 7? Yeah, I don't...
Okay.
All right. So we're going to move on to our main topic now.
All right, the main topic.
Ready Player One came out last week.
Awesome movie.
We loved it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I was anticipating this since I saw the very first trailer for it. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's because I grew up in the 80s and I just love everything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about video games, and I'm like, I played those video games. They talk about the music. I listened to that music. I still listen to that music.
Everyone does.
Thank goodness video games have progressed, because some of those 16-bit graphics are really bad. But it's fun to go back and look at those. Mm-hmm. So I was excited for that going into the film. And then being a fan of Steven Spielberg, who directed this one, he's brilliant in most of the things he does. I mean, there are some exceptions, and we know what those are. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. So my point is, just knowing that he was behind the story, it was really exciting to me. So, yeah, my first review, I love the movie. I can't wait to go see it again. Mm-hmm. And I will watch it several times. When it comes out on Blu-ray, I'm going to get the Blu-ray. I'm going to watch it over and over again and probably watch all the behind-the-scenes stuff because it's so fun. And the way they created the digital universe in there, I mean, you look at it and you realize that probably 80% of the movie is CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, there are characters that interact with the real world, but most of it takes place in this place called the Oasis, and the CGI in there is just so phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really good. So this is going to be our non-spoiler section, so those who haven't seen it can stick around for a little bit longer. So let's just talk about generally the story really quickly.
Okay, so the story. This is
Yeah,
non-spoiler.
non-spoiler, just a quick synopsis. What was
Quick
the
synopsis. Okay. So this billionaire game inventor who was a kid in the 80s, grew up and became this video game developer and game designer, creates this place called the Oasis. And we're living now in the future. It's 2045.
Yeah, 2045.
Yeah, 2045 into the future. So the world's kind of fallen apart a little bit. We've got the energy crisis because we ran out of fossil fuels. We're running out of food because we can't farm because we don't have fossil fuels, things like that. And so society is crumbling, let's say. And they go into the Oasis, this digital realm that is multiplayer throughout the entire world that this guy has created. So he's now a multi-billionaire many times over. And he created this universe for people to escape from. And so they go into their daily escape from reality, which pretty much sucks.
Yeah.
and this man, he's now, I think he's 67 at the time, but he dies and he has no relatives. So he wills this Oasis arena, this whole gaming, basically the internet is what it's become, to one or however many group of people who can solve his puzzles. And so he's gone in and he's set...
Complete his challenges.
Yeah, he's set 3 challenges to say, if you can solve this, then you are worthy to be my heir. And he wills them his whole fortune of $240-odd billion.
Yes, a lot of money.
And access to this dreamscape world.
So then we follow our main character, Wade Watts, who is just one of these guys that just wants to complete the challenges. Not really in it for the money, right?
Right, but he is an avid fan of the inventor of all this. His name is James Halliday, and he invented it and set it all up. And so this kid, Wade, is a big fan of his, and so he studies up on all these 80s references that this guy has placed throughout I was going to say the Matrix, but the Oasis, so that he can solve it. But like you said, it's not for the money for him. He's more about the challenge of it and just honoring this guy's life.
So let's go into the acting really quickly, just across the board, good or bad.
I thought all of it was good.
Yeah.
All of it, yeah. There are 5 main characters.
Yeah, there's
some sub characters.
Yeah.
The villain, what's his real name?
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. He played Krennic, who was the overseer of the Death Star that was being built in Star Wars. That was Rogue One. He does a great job as the villain, and I think again in this, he is this competitor of the Oasis. He wants to take it over and get it for his own right. And he does a great villainous job of being the bad guy who's tech savvy but naive as far as the ways of the world.
I thought the acting across the board was good, and then there were a couple standouts, Ben Mendelsohn being one of them, and Mark Rylance as the inventor Halliday. He knocked it out of the park, I think.
He did. He's a phenomenal actor. He was just in Dunkirk. Well, I guess that's last year now.
Yeah.
And he's the boat captain for the little boat with the 2 boys on it, if you've seen Dunkirk. He looks totally different, and his accent is even different. But phenomenal actor.
Yeah, he did a really great job, and I think he was the standout for the film, in my opinion.
And even within the film, he has 2 different characters, because he plays himself as an inventor of this digital world, but then he has an avatar within that digital world that is a different character, even though it's still him.
Yeah, like with a different voice and
different voice, different persona. Just the way he presents himself is totally different, and he does that almost like playing twins.
Yeah, so it's really
amazing
great
performance by him. But I love the film. Everything about it just made sense.
Moving on to the soundtrack for it, just because I know you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, like I said,
do you have a favorite track or two from it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the opening scene, and you've seen this in the trailers, they play Jump by Van Halen. I love that song. So I've had that downloaded for a while.
It's a good way to start a film.
It's a great way to start a film. And it gets you just riled up and excited right from day
Yeah,
one.
even though it's a lot of exposition at the beginning, the song in the background kind of helps it,
It helps it
flow
move
a little
through.
bit better.
Yeah, I was dancing in my chair the whole time. All the other songs in there, all great 80s bands. I've been reading the book. I'm probably about a quarter of the way through the book because the film impressed me so much, and everybody said, well, this is a great book as well. So I've gone back and got the book, and I'm now reading the book. And the story takes a different turn. I mean, it's the same basic plot, but it's set up differently within the book. But again, in the book, he keeps referencing these great songs and films of the 80s. And I keep going back to that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love that song. I love that song. There's songs by Duran Duran. There's Billy Idol. There's Prince.
These are in the book, right?
These are in the book, yeah. In the film, Prince has something in the soundtrack. Blondie has something in the soundtrack. I loved all of that. You get to the songs, and it's just like, oh, hey, there's Faith by George Michael of Wham. I know that song. And I'm just bopping out. I thought it was great. It's a brilliant soundtrack. It plays perfectly with the storyline that's going on.
Yeah, I didn't feel it was distracting. I mean, there was a couple times where it was like, oh, okay, yeah, they just need a song here, kind of. I felt a couple times.
Yeah.
I'll get more into that in spoilers. And
Yeah, but I mean, they even have the
they're
Bee
great
Gees.
songs, though. So
They are, and they reach back even before the 80s to the 70s, and they have a couple of songs from the Bee Gees and from Earth, Wind, and Fire that are also excellent songs and fit well with the soundtrack. They fit well with the action that was going on while they were being played.
there you go. So rating, I'm gonna say see it in theaters for mine.
Definitely. If you can see it in theaters, definitely do it. If you can see it in 3D, or I don't know if it's made in 3D,
I don't know if
but I know it's IMAX. IMAX is available, and if I can make it to IMAX, I would see it in IMAX.
Yeah, I don't know about 3D because 3D doesn't work well with film most of the time. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into what people have said about this.
That's true,
3D.
but this is one of those movies. I'm like, okay, and I get that Warner Brothers made this. So the nice thing is they had a lot of references to work with.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Easter eggs within the film. So if you're a fan of pop culture, which most people are, there's lots of stuff to look for, and you're going to have to watch it several times to catch some of the things. I mean, because Warner Brothers owns the Batman franchise, they were able to put small little details in there. And sometimes it's just a sticker or a logo.
Yeah.
And other times it's a full-fledged character. But there's little things you've got to watch out for throughout the film. There's some fun stuff in there. I'm not sure where I was going with that thought, but that was
see
also
it on the
fun
screen.
for me. See it on the screen, definitely.
So you can look at those details.
Yeah, and I'll see it more than once for that reason. I mean, this I don't think there's been a film like this in such a long time.
Yeah.
Where it was enjoyable throughout, and the whole thing just kept going and going, and the more it went, the more excited you got, and you want these characters to succeed because they're so likable, and I got involved in the film. I mean, that's what it came down to. I got personally involved in the film and said, I want to see these guys win. I don't want to see the bad guys come out ahead. And there's times when they do and there's times when they don't, just like with any good story. But it was overall one of the best films I've seen.
There you go. So now we're going to move on to our spoiler section really quickly. So we'll give you a few seconds to click away. So 3, 2, 1.
Spoiler alert. I don't know what that was.
So let's start with some characters and kind of how they've progressed. How did you feel about Artemis in real life? And how she's like, oh, I'm hideous, but it's just like this weird birthmark.
I thought she was great.
It was.
I thought that's not a big deal. I mean,
It was kind of funny.
So Artemis's avatar in the game has purple hair and it's kind of spiky, and she reminded me, if you've seen Rise of the Guardians, she reminds me of the Tooth Fairy. Because her hair has that same spikiness to it. I mean, she doesn't have a beak or anything, and she's not floating, but she has similarities to that with the bone structure of her face. Outside of that, she's supposed to be this beautiful, iconic character in the game, and then when you come out into reality, she's not your typical bleached blonde, tall person, right? Actress. She's actually a little stocky, but not bad. And then she has this birthmark on her eye, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a hideous beast." And it's like, "No, you're not. You're a good-looking person. You just need to own that." Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought I thought
felt
she
it
made
was
too big a deal of it.
It was a little weird. Wade's best friend in the Oasis is this guy avatar. Turns out to be a woman in real life.
H.
Yeah.
I thought H was a great character. And again, with H, there was a surprise to say, oh, this isn't this 6-foot-tall basketball player guy.
Yeah.
Who's like 280 pounds. But I liked her character.
Yeah, no, she's a great character in it.
With the world that we live in, I think people identify differently and say, this is how I imagine I should be, but not what I really am. And she kind of did that for her avatar and said, okay, my avatar is this big hulking guy, but she's not.
Yeah.
And so I was a little shocked when it was like, oh, H is a woman. Okay, but she was still a very masculine styled woman in reality. And I liked her character in both. Again, the character as the real person was very well portrayed. And I think it worked for her avatar to be this other thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, okay, if you go back to, and this is a weird reference, if you look at The Last Airbender, but not the movie. No, we're talking about the cartoon series, the good one.
Okay.
By DeMartini, who did it. I can't remember what his first name is.
DeMartini?
Yeah. DeMartino? Anyway.
I was like, what?
His character, Toph, when is a short woman. Well, she's actually a teenager, and she's blind. Mm-hmm. And then they get to the Amber Island players, and they say, this is how we portray Toph. And it ends up being this hulking guy, because she's so powerful in real life that they say, well, it has to be this big hulking person. And
like 7 feet tall.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's supposed to be me? And everybody's making fun of her and going, ha, look, they made you a guy. And she's like, no, I think that's awesome, because that's how I see myself, even though she's blind. And it was that kind of thing for me with H in this movie. That's where I want to go with that. Look up Avatar: The Last Airbender with the cartoon series that was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
That's where you want to go. Do not go to the M. Night Shyamalan thing, because that was just bad. I mean, we're talking about good movies. That was the polar opposite of this movie.
Anyway, moving back along on track, Wade's character, did you relate to him in any way, or like how did you feel that went along?
I did relate to Wade. Yeah, Wade was a good character.
Yeah.
In the real world, he is shy and he's hiding out, and he lives with his aunt, who's a real beast because she doesn't want him around.
No, I thought that was the uncle more.
Well, that was her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. Okay, never mind.
And he was a jerk and just beat the kid. So any chance he got, he would run away. And he had this little hideout near where he lived. And I thought it was really appropriate for him to do that and spend as much time in the Oasis as he could, because reality sucked. I mean, he didn't want to be out there, and I can understand that. Mm-hmm. And even though I grew up in a family with a lot of kids, it was easy to relate to him being a loner within that world.
Yeah.
And saying, nobody really likes me. I don't really get along with anybody. I don't really have any friends that I can talk to unless I'm in this Oasis realm. And then he's best friends with H. Mm-hmm. And H is a cool character. So I liked his arc of the character, and I liked him as an actor. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, he did really great. Last couple ones, T.J. Miller plays the in-game mercenary guy, like the skull chest dude.
Yeah, okay.
T.J. Miller.
I-Rock, yeah.
Yeah, really great. I think this is probably one of the best roles he's done.
It is, and maybe that's because we didn't see his face at all. I mean, he plays. I looked at him and I was like, "Oh, it's Skeletor from the He-Man universe."
Kind of.
It's not, but he has that kind of persona about him. But he was very scary, and yet dorky at the same time.
Yeah, no, he had those like comic goof ups a lot.
Yeah, and whoever wrote it, I mean, he played it very well when he was acting it. But the writing of that character was brilliant as well, because he comes across as this big, hulking, massive, I'm going to conquer everything I touch. But
he's kind of just a dork.
He's a dorky guy, and yet he doesn't have the nerdiness of all the knowledge of the things that are going on within this realm.
Well, he does, though.
He kind of problem solves, but he doesn't do it the right way, and so people make fun of him. And they don't do it to his face because he could kill him. But they do it behind his back, and I think that's just funny. And it does show up more in the book that way.
Okay. And then the last one is Simon Pegg. I didn't know he was in this one. And he was great.
I found out the day before we went to go see it that Simon Pegg was in it. I saw a still photograph, and I didn't realize how big his role was. And he plays the partner of this guy who's done all this gaming. So he's his business partner and helps to plan it and market the whole thing. And he has a bigger scene, several scenes, than I thought he would. I always like Simon Pegg. It doesn't matter what he's in. He can be a Starship Enterprise person and be Mr. Scott. He can be in Mission Impossible. Wherever he shows up, he does a great job. And I love Simon Pegg. He is one of my favorite actors.
I just wanted to bring it up because his role is great in it. And he just plays this supportive partner really well. And then when he shows up at the end as well, he just has this really nice attitude about him. He's like, this is just a friendly guy. I just want to hang out with him.
He does. And spoiler alert, because we're already in spoilers.
We're in the spoilers.
He actually has a character within the gaming world that you don't realize is him until he says that at the end of the film. And you're like, oh, no way. So I'm not going to tell you who it is. But he does show up as a gaming character as well.
Well, I mean, you can because this is spoilers. So, I mean,
but I don't want to.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So yeah, characters across the board, really great. So let's get into the challenges a little bit before we wrap this up. Challenge 1 with the race. I felt it was brilliant.
Oh my gosh, that was the coolest thing ever. I love that they used the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
But then they gave it Knight Rider lights on the front.
Yeah, which was cool. And I realize that, I don't know if that was to take off the name DeLorean, because it usually says DMC across the front, and that's their badge. And if you take that off and then put the Knight Rider lights that are scanning,
then you don't have to put it in.
Then you don't have to put that on there, and you don't have to pay John DeLorean any money. Not that he's still around.
He'll come back from the grave.
But it made the car look even cooler to have that red glowing light flashing back and forth, like Kit in the Knight Rider series.
I found it funny that no one went backwards at all. Like, not even accidentally from the start. Like, oh no, I accidentally am in reverse and then went through the wall. I just find that kind of funny. That took 5 years for them to go like, hey, go backwards really fast. Like, pedal to the metal, man.
Well, they hadn't looked at the clues. I mean, this Holiday character, he left certain clues, and all they said was, we got to a game portal, and so we have to beat this game, and that's how you get the key.
Yeah.
That's how you get one of the keys. And so I think they were trying to just use their competitive nature to outrace each other's as gamers. Yeah.
Okay, I can get that.
And honestly, if I'm playing a video game, I'm not thinking, well, if I went through it backwards, that would make sense. It'd be, no, that's a solid brick wall behind me. The last time I played Arkham Knight, I couldn't go through a solid brick wall with my car. Maybe I can. I don't know.
Maybe I can. Well, yeah, because there was the whole fear of zeroing out as well.
Right, yeah.
So going backwards at full speed to a brick wall is probably not everyone's idea of a good time.
And you mentioned zeroing out. So your character, your avatar dies, and that means all your experience points and all your credits disappear.
Yeah, and all
you've
your
got
stuff.
to start back at 0, and you've got to build yourself a new avatar.
No,
you
don't
can't have the same one.
No, the avatar comes back. It's only if you're... That's at the end that they can't...
Okay.
That goes into more
jumping
spoilers.
ahead.
We'll get there at the end. Don't worry, guys.
Alrighty. So the car chase, the first challenge... Awesome scene. I love that they put the dinosaur from Jurassic Park. The T-Rex comes in and eats a couple of cars.
Yeah, it's
and then King Kong is just beating the road to pieces, and so you have to get past him.
It's a lot of fun.
Visually, really entertaining.
Yeah, and then I love how they didn't put any music in it. It's just the sound effects of the race. And
and I didn't even notice that. You pointed that out to me after the fact.
It's just the sound effects of the race, and then some of the characters talking to each other, and it's super investing and gets you right in.
Yeah.
I was like, this is intense and it's fun, and it's one of my favorite sequences of the film.
Absolutely. And they did put it into the trailers, so there was
a
a little
little
bit of a spoiler
a little bit.
But the nice thing is it does show up early in the film, so it doesn't ruin any of the rest of the film.
It's like 9 minutes into the film, I think, that they start the race. I think. I don't know the exact times, but...
Amazing scenery. Just the whole thing, the way they put it together.
Yeah, it's great and a lot of fun. Challenge 2 and getting there, The Shining references. I thought it was creative how they did it, and how The Shining was kind of just like a red herring for what they really had to do, because they mentioned that in the film.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is all just this is just like
It just happened to be in the context of The
Yeah.
Shining without it even relating to the characters of The Shining. I mean,
it's just like decoration to disguise
yeah,
where you need
it's
to
like
go.
we're just going to put you on set. It just happens to be this set. Now go and play and do a different game within this set.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I have smaller kids with us,
Yeah.
right? So 13 years old, and he got a little spooked when they first showed up and it said The Shining, because there's axes dropping in the forest and they're humongous. I mean, it's
Yeah.
overly done. So there are a few things, and then when the blood shows up in the elevator and floods the hallway, there are a couple of things that smaller children may not like.
Yeah.
But overall, there was nothing horrific about it. And again, that's The Shining's one of those movies where it builds on the intensity and it has that suspense level to it.
But it's I feel it's okay though, because they keep undercutting it with the humor, because H's character doesn't like horror movies, and neither do I. And I kind of related with that, where it's like, hey, I don't know The Shining. I don't know what happens when I follow twins to the elevator. And they
Never
it's like
follow twins to the elevator.
it's like think that it's just like other characters, like, hey, where are you guys heading? Do you know what's happening? And then it's just floods
and then
with
other
the
things
blood.
happen.
It's
yeah.
like I felt it kind of gave some levity to some of it.
It did, and they did a great job of doing that, because H's character again is this big hulking, like hero type person,
Yeah.
who is just lost in this world, and that was humorous, and so that helps a lot. And then the challenge itself was fascinating, how they presented that, and again unlocking the clues of what to do and how to do it. And it just happened to be taking place in the Shining universe.
Yeah, because it all ties back together with all these clues that Holiday has left for them, and some of them are kind of like hidden. And it's like, hey, he has this library where he's documented his entire life, and you can just go in and look at the past and stuff, and some of the clues are hidden in there, and it's really interesting with those scenes as well.
Yeah, it's like going to a museum. Well, they actually called it the museum at one point. But it's like going to a museum and seeing a little tableau of the people and everything just behind glass. But it's all made up of digitized photographs and security footage and things. So it has a 3D realistic, like you're in the film. And then you can look at different angles of it. That was really cool how he was doing
There's
that.
limitations to it, but there were.
Picking up small little details of every detail in the room.
That stuff was just really interesting to me, just because it's like, hey, it's just this library of this dude's life, and it's like a bunch of people sifted through everything but couldn't find clues for the race, so they just gave up on that.
Right.
And it was like, hey, maybe not necessarily for the race, but for the other things you need to know this stuff. And I felt that was interesting.
It was, and I like that. Again, back to the book is doing the same thing, where it's giving details of this man's life, and if you study his life, then you understand his way of thinking and how he came up with clues, and then find the answers to those clues based on events or even people in his life.
And then moving on
Fun twist.
to, I think it was just before the second challenge when they go into The Shining, his house gets blown up by the bad guys.
Oh yeah, back in the real world.
In the real world, yeah. I don't know. It was a nice little sequence there to see him try and save these people, and the stupid boyfriend dude shows up again, and he takes the phone. He's like, "Hey, I got this cool suit, so I can feel every impact, so I don't need your crappy gloves anymore." And it's like, dude, get out of the house. And it's like, what? And then it blows up. It was like,
You kind of wanted him to die, didn't you?
yeah, but you didn't want the ant to die.
No, and then all the innocent people in the rest of the building, they also died, which was a shame.
Yeah, it was.
But it was, I don't know how to describe that. It was poignant to what was going on, because it showed you how evil the evil people are. That they're not just being mean and rude in the virtual world, but they're actually taking action in the real world to prevent the main character from reaching his goals.
Which was another kind of fun scene. Not the exploding houses, but they go to this boardroom meeting before they solve the first challenge. And it's like, hey, we need to solve this so that way we can market it and get profits from that. And there's just a funny line that's like, hey, through research, we found you can cover 80% of a player's vision before they get seizures. It's like, great.
Yeah. So if we go 78%, they won't get seizures, and they'll keep playing forever and have ads.
And just have ads
screen.
blocking 3/4 of their screen.
Yeah.
Final challenge / final battle. Lot going on in that.
There was an immense amount of things going on. They invited every avatar in the Oasis, so every gamer around the world basically was invited into this last final battle.
Yeah, to stop the bad guys from taking ownership of the Oasis and solving this final challenge. It's like, hey, we need your help. Let's go fight off all their, like, little worker people that they have.
Yeah, that was cool. That's a scene I want to go watch again because there was so much going on with different droids and mechs and cartoon characters and things from every genre of entertainment, really, from the 80s and 90s that were all in battle. So you had people from World of Warcraft coming in. You had
there were like
there was a
Halo
team of
people.
commandos from Halo.
Yeah, there were Halo people. The Ninja Turtles from Michael Bay's movie showed up, which someone online was like, who chose these people? You can be anyone, and you chose Michael Bay's weird turtles. Okay, sorry. Anyway.
I saw Batgirl show up in there briefly, and several other characters. And I've got to go back and kind of scan that whole thing because I know they actually put characters from different games and things into each little area of that. So that big battle, that was awesome. That's when the Iron Giant shows up, which you've seen in the trailers again. And then has an epic battle with the Iron Giant.
With Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, that one was a little far-fetched when Mecha Godzilla showed up, but I'm like,
but that's an actual thing.
But
that's
why not?
From the movies.
Exactly.
It's like, who came up with that? I don't know, but it has missile launchers and things that just blown up everything. And then Iron Giant comes after it, and it's a cool fight there.
It's a very cool fight. And then you think it's over, and it's not over, and it keeps going, and it's a lot of fun. And then there's a challenge after that with the video games.
Yeah, with the Atari system.
Which is classic. I mean, you go back, and really the first mass-produced video game console was the Atari 2600. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, and very few have actually played it. But I've played the actual system. I've got one of the reboot ones where it's all in one now.
Yeah, well,
and you don't get to choose
all in one.
Yeah, but you don't get to choose your cartridges. But back in the day, we had an actual Atari 2600 where you plugged in the cartridges and played some of those games.
Yeah. So then the bad guy who wants to make sure that no one... It's like, hey, if I can't get it, no one does. He sets off the catalyst, or... Yeah, I think that's what it's called. The big bomb thing at the end.
Oh, right, yeah. The
killing
is a bomb.
Everybody.
Yeah, it wipes out every player in the whole game.
Like, on that planet that they're on. Which is everyone.
Yeah. And then it's okay, now who has to race to get back to their avatar, rebuild them, and get to this end battle.
But then Wade has a one-up.
So, another spoiler here, a nice big one.
We're in the spoiler section.
Fine, he gets an extra life. There you go.
Yeah.
And ruined it.
And then it's a touching moment of him going through an adventure and finding the Easter egg. It's like, hey, gaming's not about winning. It's about having fun and just playing the game. And I felt that was a nice little message to have there.
I did, yeah. Yeah, because I've been playing Forza 6 in my life, and I just reached the end of the challenge, and they said only 5% of people... I got a special award, because only 5.44% of people actually play through all 15 levels of that game and do all the races. And I thought, well, that kind of makes me feel... like, oh, cool. Other people quit halfway through or whatever. I'm going to go race the cars I want to race and go online and do multiplayer. But I played the full video game. So I could relate to that too, a little differently, because I enjoyed it. I'm like, I'm having fun racing cars around, especially after watching this film. It's different. You don't get to blow stuff up, and there's not giant monsters trying to kill you, but it's still a fun game. So Ready Player One, highly recommended.
Yeah.
Honestly... I'd say it's the best thing since, but I don't know what to say. Since the Avengers, I guess.
I don't know. It's probably it's the best film that's come out so far this year, I think. And I know we've had Black Panther as well. But absolutely. I'm just saying, I like Ready Player One a bit more.
There you go.
Just to end it off, do you have a favorite reference that you'd like to just share? Because I have one that's kind of stupid, and I found out about it after we watched the movie. When they're doing the race, they drive by a movie theater, and on the marquee it says starring Jack Slater, which is Arnold's character in The Last Action Hero, which is a terribly cheesy but awesome movie.
It's a very cheesy movie.
It's hilarious.
I do own a copy of that movie.
It's hilarious, but I found it funny because, like, starring Jack Slater, it's like,
that's awesome.
that's great.
That is awesome. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. Gee, there were so many ladies. One I remember, they're zooming in on a workshop that H has, and there's a sticker that says "Save Ferris" on the desk as it zooms in.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a kick out of that because that's obviously from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And they write that on the water tower in the town he lives in and say "Save Ferris." So there was this sticker, and I'm like, that's cool. They've got a "Save Ferris" sticker there.
And then also in the race, a lot of my favorites are in the race. The 66 Batmobile shows up.
Yeah,
And that
TV series.
That made my day.
That was cool. And I did like that they had a Rubik's Cube, and it was actually a time displacement object. But they called it a Zemeckis Cube, and I thought that was really cool because Robert Zemeckis made Back to the Future. He was the one in charge of that. And so that was an homage to Robert Zemeckis instead of calling it a Rubik's Cube because it reset time back 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. So that was another one of mine, was the Zemeckis Cube.
All right. So that finishes up for Ready Player One, our spoiler discussion. Thank you guys for tuning into this podcast. Hope you had fun. We had
We had a lot of fun.
we had fun talking about movies, and we hope to see you next month. We'll have our Infinity War review.
That's right. We've already got tickets for that one. I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys next month. You guys take care.
All right. Take it easy, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.